Hi everyone. Hello everybody. So our question is the causes and solutions on high blood pressure. So since this is Tony's field of expertise, I will answer some questions and then she will give her answers to questions. So the first question is, what is high blood pressure?
So high blood pressure, also known as hypertension, which is a medical diagnosis, is the when your blood is the pressure that is pushed to the blood vessels, right? And then when it relaxes. So we have the top number, which is like you see like when it's like 120, and then the bottom number, which is the diastolic, which is 80. Yeah. So basically, that's really what high blood pressure is. The pressure from the pressure, how fast the blood goes to the blood vessels, and then when it gets back then to the heart or whatever. Yeah.
So the fact that it says high blood pressure, is it a case where that's just blood pressure and high blood pressure then would be when it's too high? Or is it just called high blood pressure just because?
High blood pressure is basically when the pressure is too high. So when your pressure is high, you're gonna have more blood volume going to your vessels because it's like the body's not being perfused properly. Perfused meaning the oxygen is not going to the tissues. Right. So then if your pressure is so high, then you are going to be having issues with your pressure and then it could lead to other problems.
Okay. So what ethnicity or race would you say suffers with high blood pressure the most?
Well, the Afro-Caribbean, Afro-American, Afro-everybody.
Africans.
Right.
Okay. What are the causes of high blood pressure?
Okay, so the top cause of high blood pressure is major is a major is let me get myself together. It is mostly stress and your eating habits, your lifestyle. So, for example, when I say lifestyle, I mean in terms of like eating high salt, and then stressing. So it could be stressing, like you're stressing over a child, you're stressing over your job, you're stressing over family members, church, whatever. So that's why they say too that high blood pressure is a silent killer because it causes so many things that you wonder how this has happened when really and truly it was your blood pressure that went sky high.
Well, they say stress is the killer, so I guess there's some stressors that are good, in terms of not really good, but like there's some stressors that are like an everyday situation that are necessary,
but it's
not on the whole, or it's a very short term stressor. But when you have like long term stressors, things that are constantly stressing you out, it causes a lot of illnesses, and it causes illnesses to expand and I don't know why that word is giving so much trouble, but I just let's pretend I didn't say that.
Let me just add to that. Also, being overweight can cause high blood pressure and consuming alcohol as well.
Okay.
Right.
So what symptoms would someone with high blood pressure have?
Okay, so some of these signs and symptoms would be like the headaches, and you will have like these really bad headaches, right? Because you could have a headache, but it could be something else. It doesn't necessarily have to be high blood pressure, but it's like a really bad headache. You might have vision problems. You will be fatigued. You might be fatigued. You might have shortness of breath, or anything of that sort, basically.
So what ways can high blood pressure be treated? And this is going to be like a two-part question. What ways can it be treated medically first, and then what ways can it be treated naturally second?
Okay, so medically you have a number of medications. So you might see somebody with Norvasc. That's a high blood pressure medication. There's carvedilol, which is a beta blocker. Then there are the ACE inhibitors, which is like enalapril. and the ARBs, which is like valsartan. There's calcium channel blockers like amlodipine as well. Those are the high blood pressure medication. But in terms now of um, non-pharmacological, um, going back to the medication, there's also the water pill as well. Because eating, sometimes when you eat so much salt, you retain water, so you need the water pill to get rid of that water, which will also decrease the pressure. Right. So the non-pharmacological now would be like exercise for sure, and cutting down on the salt. It's very important to cut out the salt.
Okay, what about herbs? Because there are some herbs that people take as well that can also, I don't know if you know any, but there are some herbs that people take that can also help to bring down that blood pressure as well.
I heard my mother talk about blue vervain, and then blue vervain, and then I heard people also talk about papaya leaf. But they said that works so good that it's actually caused you to be hypotensive, meaning that your pressure then gets low. So you have to be careful with those, with the herbs as well. But everything you do, as I love to say, do it in moderation, because you might be treating one symptom or one illness and it can cause another problem.
The thing about medication too is that when I talk about medication, I'm talking about the medical and also the non-medical. Is a trial and error. So everything does not work for everybody the same way. In terms of like the natural, one natural herb might work for some people and it might not work for another person, and then the other natural herb might as well. And then it's also, it might work in some ways. Like you don't want to take too much, you don't want to take too little. So you have to know like what the exact dosage is for your treatment. And that's where like a naturopathic doctor, somebody might come in. Right. Okay. So you could talk to the old time people, the elders in the community, because they know, they're so knowledgeable on these things, and they don't have a degree or anything, but they could be a doctor or what, because they have so much knowledge on the herbs that can make you feel better for a lot of conditions.
It's true.
You want to say something?
No, I just wanted to say that the old people will give you like a better knowledge of the herbs, because I'm a nurse, it doesn't mean that I can know every single thing, and we don't really deal with herbs, we deal with the medication, medical part of it. But as I said, you have to change your diet and you got to change your lifestyle. So you got to exercise more, eat more fruits and vegetables, low fats, high protein, those kind of things for hypertension, having high blood pressure.
The next question is, what is the normal blood pressure range?
Alright, so the normal blood pressure range is 120 on 80. However, there is like a range. You asking about the range or the
what is the normal blood pressure?
So the normal blood pressure, I can leave off range. The normal blood pressure is 120 on 80. The range is, the systolic, which is the top number, is between 120 and 140 to 140, and then the bottom number is 80 to 89, right? That's the normal range for the blood pressure. Anything above 90 will be considered hypertensive.
Okay, so what lifestyle changes, which I believe you just mentioned a few, what lifestyle changes can you make to keep your blood pressure stable?
Okay, so as I would have said earlier, exercise, major one. Your eating habits, eat more fruits, vegetables, and stuff like that. Also, if you're under a lot of stress, and this is now the bad stress that I'm talking about, you might need to go and talk to somebody if that's the case, or remove those things that stressing you out. So if you got a friend that just call you every day with depressing news, cut them off. If your family members are doing a whole set of crap and you can't handle it, cut it off. Because you now have to look at yourself versus one be the helper. Because you helping them is actually causing your health to decline. So A lot of people don't talk about that, but I will speak about it. In that you need to remove these persons or these situations that you're in. Most importantly, pray to God. God is gonna help you out no matter what. That's
Right.
it.
I was gonna say she mentioned it at the end, but I was gonna say also like in terms of stressors, you pray, you can meditate. People meditate as well. They, whatever you find that brings you peace,
Right.
you can do that so that you can bring down those stress levels.
Right.
Okay. So, what are some diseases or conditions that are caused by high blood pressure?
Okay, so there is heart failure. Um, there is kidney disease, chronic kidney disease, because you guys wouldn't know this, but the kidney is what actually regulates your blood pressure. So if your blood pressure is too high, then you know what could happen. You got kidney disease. And the major complication of high blood pressure is having a stroke. Either a ischemic stroke, which is where the brain tissues lack oxygen, or a hemorrhagic stroke, where a clot in your brain has burst and caused you to bleed, and then, as I said, no perfusion to the brain. Right. So that's how you get this
Okay,
complication.
so how can you take your own blood pressure?
Right. So you will have like a blood pressure machine. If mine was working, it would have shown you guys. But you just have a blood pressure machine and a cuff, and you just put it over your arm, and then you press start. That's for the electronic ones. Those are the easier ones to use. But for us fig, you will need to go to the doctor. But I think that if you're diagnosed with hypertension, I think it's very important for you to actually have a blood pressure machine. Also, there's something called white collar hypertension. So white collar hypertension is basically Shanita. I will give you an example. Shanita's sitting down in front of me, and she pressure skyrocket high. I might think the girl about to get a stroke, but then it tells she, all right, well go home, check your pressure for at least 2 days, and then it's normal. So that's how you're diagnosed with white collar hypertension. Is like because you're sitting in front of somebody who has a white collar, who's like, for example, a doctor, a nurse, your pressure goes up, but then when you go back home, your pressure is fine. So that's very important too to note.
So weight pressure,
White collar
weight color,
hypertension.
yeah. What is it exactly based on your job, the type of job you have?
No, it's basically that if you like how you might be, it's like basically a nervous problem. Like so, like because you nervous or you uptight,
So
your
because
pressure gonna go up.
so there's some people that get nervous
Right.
because they're going to the doctor,
Doctor.
or whatever. So
Right.
because they know they're going to the doctor, they start to
Panic,
immediately
get
nervous, and then
anxious.
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But when they go home now and they check their pressure, the pressure pick a farm as we would sit back home, which means it's really
It's
good.
normal. Okay. So the last thing I have is what are your last advice or thoughts?
Right. So my last advice or thoughts would be, get rid of the stressors, eat properly, exercise, love. Cause another thing too is holding people in your mind. All the things you gotta get away from a lot. I find some people are naturally warriors. Some people are naturally holding people in their minds, and that's why the pressure keeps going up because you're studying, 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 studying. And tell me for what? The people you studying ain't studying you, and it's like a case of you harming yourself because people harm you, basically, right? So what I would say for the most part, I'm not saying this is a major cause of high blood pressure, but what I would say is that you just tone tone down the holding people in your mind. Just try to love people, do what God wants you to do, and you will see that things will work out the way you want it to work out.
Yeah. So what I would add to that is, if you and a person aren't speaking for whatever reason, you can try to talk to the person about the situations, try to dissolve it like that, or you can basically pray about it, and then try to get it off your mind. because at the end of the day, as Tony said, it's not going to harm the other person. It's going to harm you when you keep people in your mind, when you build up a lot of animosity, and so on. And the next thing I would also say, she didn't add this, but I would add it to buy your own blood pressure machine so that you can always, especially if the doctor says that this is a problem, but even if they don't, you can always check your blood pressure from time to time to make sure that is okay, especially in the black community.
Yeah. Also, please be compliant with your medication. Please and thank you, because sometimes that's one of the other reasons why persons are actually still hypertensive, because they're not doing what the doctor says to do, which is take your medication. If it is that you have a nice plant, a blueberry vein, or the papaya leaf, as I said, just drink the tea, make sure your pressure is down, but check your pressure all the time. I shouldn't say invest in your own health and buy yourself a blood pressure machine, so that in the case that you having like a situation you had continuously hurting you, you will tell yourself, all right, let me go and check my pressure and see what's going on with me or whatever.
Okay, so that is it for our video. I hope you liked it. I hope you gained some information. We were able to give you some information. And the last part is to like,
share,
and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye. See you.